everyone! Happy February! Today is February 1st. Oh my god. Can't believe January is already gone. That means I've been in school for a month already and I only have 2 months left of the term, so I'm already kind of freaking out about all the assignments and readings that I need to do before the term ends. It's gonna be fun. Anyway, I thought I would do my January wrap-up. I didn't do a wrap-up last month because I just didn't read enough books in December. It was just super crazy time, you know, holiday season, work. There was just a lot going on, so I didn't read as much. I think I only read 3 books in December. But this month I read a lot. I read 5 books. So I'm doing this. We are here. Let's get into the monthly wrap-up. So the first book that I read this month was In the Labyrinth of Drakes by Marie Brennan, and this is a memoir of Lady Trent. This is the 4th book in the series. There is 1 left and then that's it. There's only 5 books in the entire series. So this is a really good book. It was again kind of slower start, but I mean all of her books are like that just because of the nature of them. Like it's a memoir, and not only is it a memoir, but it's a memoir of a naturalist, so it's kind of slow going, which is fine because it really sets it up for the rest of the book. And there were some things that happened in here that had been kind of hinted at in the first couple of books, and now they've happened, and I liked the way they happened. And yeah, lots of good things. It wasn't as intense and dramatic as some of her past books, which again is fine. You're reading it more for the historical aspect, which I thought was good. And yeah, there was just like really good characters again in here. There's a lot of character development, so you got to see characters that were in the last book kind of spun on their head, put in different situations. And it's really interesting to see where the characters started, like Isabella Trent, see where she started and then where she has come, how far she's come, where she has ended up, and it's just really, really cool. So I really like this book as a way to kind of continue characters' growth and all the good things like that. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I would have given it a 5-star rating, I think, if there had been a little bit more action, but again, that's not something that I can really control because it's a historical, natural science type fantasy book, so what you gonna do? The next book that I read was The Tiger's Daughter by Kay Arsenault Rivera, and this book, I am so torn about this book. I loved it. I loved the pace, I loved the setting, I loved the characters, the culture, the romance. I did not know that there was a lesbian romance in this, and it was so cute. It was so adorable. Literally the sweetest, cutest romance ever. It was so amazing, and I really liked that. I feel like in all, the plot didn't really go anywhere. I feel like this was more of a setup for the next book in the series. Just kind of setting up where people are at, what's been going on. It was written very differently with the perspectives. So there was a present day third person perspective, which was the Empress. And then there was the letters that were being written to her, which were in second person past tense. And that was really weird because I've never read anything in second person really, so it was kind of disconcerting at first because we're reading it as this character has written to the Empress. She's writing to the Empress, and so the Empress is reading the letters and we're reading it as if we are the Empress, basically. So there's that. It was kind of weird that way, just with reading basically a letter. But But yeah, it was in the second person, which was kind of strange. I read the book and I loved it and I was like all about it and I was like, this is amazing, this is such a great book, and I went on Goodreads and I was like, I need to know what other people think. And a lot of people, oh, what they were saying kind of like hurt my heart a little bit, but people were saying, especially Chinese, Japanese, Mongolian, like all those people from those cultures were saying that there was a lot of cultural appropriation that was used in this book. And I know that after reading the book, there is clearly very heavy pulls from Chinese, Japanese, and Mongolian cultures in particular. And it's very obvious as to what those cultures are in the book. So that was fine. I didn't mind that, but a lot of people were saying that Karasuno just did like a couple word letter changes and stuff like that to try to make it seem like it wasn't those cultures, and there were a lot of racial stereotypes that were used. So the way that the characters were describing other characters or themselves, they were describing themselves in racial stereotypes that other cultures, like non-Eastern Asian cultures, would have used. So any kind of a Western culture, I guess, basically, those kind of racial stereotypes. So like a wide moon face. This is like so hard to explain. Like they're just descriptions that were being used that people of those cultures would not use themselves to describe themselves, if that makes any sense. And yeah, wide moon face was one of those descriptions that, or descriptors that people were complaining about. So I can see how that would really upset some people. And clearly it has upset a lot of people, otherwise there wouldn't have been so much controversy about it. So after reading that, I was really kind of torn. I will definitely link some reviews down below to reviews on Goodreads, because obviously I am a Caucasian female of the Canadian culture, so I can't really speak to the experiences of people in those cultures who are currently having their culture appropriated in this book. So I'll leave those reviews down below for you guys to look at and read and see, and you guys can make your own decisions based on those reviews. But I think besides all the controversy, I still really enjoyed the book. I do want to read the second book, but I also don't want to support it if there's going to be just as many racial stereotypes and cultural appropriation as the first book. So I'm really hoping that for the second book, there's possibly like a sensitivity reader used, or several sensitivity readers. And obviously they can't change the names of everything now because it's all been set in paper and ink. But if there's a way to, I don't know, maybe have some kind of like apology and then say, you know, this is what's happening and this is how we are attempting to remedy the situation. I think that would be a great way to address the issues that are being brought up by many, many people. And yeah, just have someone make sure that there isn't that cultural appropriation anymore. So I think that this book is definitely, there's just so much controversy about it. I think it's well written. It definitely turns narratives, like takes perspectives and totally flips the format, but I think that is something that needs to be really taken into account, is any kind of cultural appropriation and stereotyping, severe stereotyping that is made in the book. So I did give it a 4. I would have given it a 5 if there hadn't been those issues. But yeah, hopefully that can be remedied for the second book when that comes out. So the third book that I read this year was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Finally! It's only been out for a year. So This book obviously has been talked about a lot in respect to the Black Lives Matter movement and just in general, police brutality, especially in the States. So I was like, I of course need to read this. I loved it. There's like nothing else I can say. 5 out of 5 stars. Of course. I love this book. It made me uncomfortable. It made me like question society. It made me question what we take for granted. Seeing just how intense it is from that perspective. It's crazy. You don't realize just how awful basically the ghettos are. Just how messed up and corrupt and wrong and all the shit that happens. Basically, there's just so much, and it's great that it makes you question, why is this okay in society? Why is this not something that is being questioned more? I don't want to say too much because I will spoil it and I don't want to. But this book, it just like, something happened and it made me very angry, and I totally got behind a lot of the characters and what they were doing. And it was like, this book. It is so important for today's society, and I think everybody should read this book. And I don't typically read contemporary anything, basically anything that's not fiction or anything that's not fantasy, but this book just like drew me in and would not let me go until I had finished it, and I just can't get over how amazing this book was and the message that it is trying to get across, and everything is incredible. So I think if you didn't like this book because it made you uneasy and uncomfortable and not okay and like just like bleh, that's good. It's supposed to do that. It's supposed to do that for people. And I think we need to take that feeling and direct it towards action. Action that can like help people and help make society a better place. So that is my tirade on this book. The next book that I read is Devil is a Part-Timer 8 in the light novel series. So the light novel series is actually what this series came out in first, and then it was converted into several manga series, and then it was converted into an anime. So if you're confused about what came first in this series, it's the light novels. And I liked it. It's fun. This is like a really fun series for me. It's just great. I read this after The Hate You Give because I was like, I need something just super chill and funny and just take the heaviness away. Because as much as I love The Hate You Give, it is a very heavy book and it talks about a lot of heavy topics. So I was like, I just need something fun and happy and cheerful. And this is the series. There is a lot of like intense stuff that does happen kind of throughout the series, but it's always like little blips, and then the rest of it is just like, how am I gonna pay rent this month? I need to make money. I'm picking up shifts. Like in this book, he's trying to get his driver's license. So it's like just kind of stupid, mundane stuff like that, but with a hilarious twist because they're from this whole other world, and it's just really funny and I really liked it. I only gave it a 4 because I felt like this one wasn't as funny and stuff. I wasn't as engaged with it as I was with the past books in the series, but I still really enjoyed it. I still thought it was funny and great and just like a super easy, quick read. So 4 out of 5 stars. The last book that I read is, oh my god, I think one of my favorite books of the decade. It is a book that, if I wasn't already obsessed with Lord of the Rings, would probably be my #1 favorite book, and then bring the entire series to like my #1 favorite series of all time. And that book is Age of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. And this book, oh my god, 5 out of 5 stars, 10 out of 10 would recommend. The characters, the development, the setting, all the plot, everything. This book, I could not find a single thing wrong with it. I just loved all of it. the way it progresses, the way it began to the way it ended is just like, oh my god, this book made me cry. I never cry during books. Actually, that's wrong. I cried once in grade 12 reading a book, and it was The Last Song by Nicholas Sparks, because cancer, and you know, cancer is something that's affected me greatly, and it's affected a lot of people greatly, so I feel like if you don't cry when somebody dies of cancer, you have no heart. But this book is the first book that has made me cry in almost a decade. That makes me sound really old, I'm sorry. It's just like, oh my god, the stuff that happens in this book is incredible. And you would think that it's a very man book. I mean, it's like fantasy. You read the first book and the guys are very prominent characters, but there's also a lot of really strong women in the series as well. But in this book, the woman takes center stage. It's all women. They go off and they do amazing things without any men at all. In fact, the men that are present when they are doing their awesomeness are really rude and greedy and just like the worst humans, well, they're not even humans, the worst dwarves imaginable. And it is just, oh my god, this book sets the stage for women as powerful characters, and not just like, I'm a badass, look at me like stabbing people and assassinating people, and I can wield a sword and I can like fire a bow like nobody else. I don't need no man. These women are smart. They are strong. They're resourceful. They cry. They carry each other. They are literally the epitome of squad goals. These girls help each other and are just so amazing, and I'm just so into this book right now. I'm not even sorry. This book is just like, and then the end, I'm sorry, but the end of this book was just like, I read it and I was like, I'm dead. I'm dead. This book, I don't know how the rest of the series is gonna stand up to this book, because this book just took everything that needs to happen in adult fantasy and just like set the bar like way too high. And I just can't get over this book. If you like fantasy, you need to read the series. Age of Myth is the first book in the series. It is just incredible, and I could not get over this book. I can't praise this book enough. People need to read this book. It is so good. Okay, so that is my tirade over. I'm going to put a lid on the enthusiasm because I was getting too excited there. But that is it for my January wrap up. So that is all. I will see you guys in the next video. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye!